So let's move on to, I have to say unnamed journalist, because I don't want to say his name because, he doesn't like when I mention his name, even if it's to speak about a piece. So let's just say unnamed journalist, speaking with Anfield Index. I've been speaking a little bit about Federico Chiesa and why he's not getting opportunities. And this is what they had to say. And again, shout out to our friends at Anfield Index. When Chiesa signed for Liverpool, expectations were high. Euro 2020 winner with Italy and one of the continent's most technically gifted forwards. However, according to unnamed journalist, his integration has fallen flat. Unnamed journalist went on to say, it's simple. The manager sees him every week in training and can have a direct comparison to Darwin Núñez and Diogo Jota not really liking what he sees. So if it's that simple, just for a second, why don't journalists ask Arne Slot that at press conferences or after games or on any occasion? Because, it's good that we're hearing some situation around why Chiesa's not getting a chance. But I'd appreciate it, and I'm sure Liverpool fans would, more coming from the manager or the club rather than one of the club's extension of the PR team. So goes on to say, this is not a minor detail. Slot, who appears to be ushering in a new tactical era at Anfield, has already made strong decisions that suggest a prioritisation of intensity, cohesion, and form over reputation. But again, not pushing back on what the journalist writes here, but no player can show form if they're not given minutes on the pitch. And yes, very fair point made about what the manager sees on the training ground. No argument about that whatsoever. But if a player is going to get minutes, then you're going to see form. So I think Arne Slot, as the journalist said here, this is more of a statement rather than a shock of an omission. And I do agree with that. And I said all the way through, for me, this feels like somebody signed Chiesa and Arne Slot wasn't having it and has shown that he doesn't want him at the club. So let's wait and see what happens there. Cornan said, worried that Slot might hurt Núñez's price. I think Núñez's own performances have managed to do that more than anything else. Remember here, the only reason that he isn't getting played is because he has been given chance after chance after chance, and he hasn't really taken it. And then you've seen the reports to say that, the manager's tried to work one-on-one with him, tried to give him as much helpful information as he can, and it just isn't being taken on board. So, sorry, I meant to bring that up on screen, by the way. I don't really think, like Chiesa, I'm 100% saying yes, that's a situation Arne Slot could have dealt with a lot better, and probably has caused us a headache. On that, Napoli have been a club who've been linked with a move for Federico Chiesa, and of course other clubs in Serie A as well. Even on this one, I sat here last night and I thought about it. So the conversation has been, well, Liverpool maybe wanted to take a punt on him and they thought maybe they could flip him and sell him off. But by my rough calculations, I think the best we could do there is break even. Let's say you got 25 million for Chiesa, as an example. I don't think you will, but let's say we did. Well, we bought him for what, 12 or 13? I'm sure that there was a few million quid there, or a handsome amount on agents' fees. Then you've got taxes and all that. Then you've a year of 7 million quid wages on your books as well, plus whatever bonuses may come within the Premier League and that. So when you add all that up, and then you take away whatever you'd make then again, tax-wise, on a sale, you probably aren't going to make much or flip much. You've just wasted 7 million quid's worth of wages for a year and given yourself a bigger headache. So I don't understand the whole plan. And I think that this is another example of Liverpool fans not having anybody in a position of influence in the world of journalism or whatever to hold the club to account as to what's going on and why they did this. Because questions should be asked about what the thought process was, who okayed it, and how the money's been pissed up against the wall on a player the manager doesn't want to give a minute to. I think they're fair questions. Tanya said, Chiesa is a flexible player. He will sell for 30, 35 million, I believe. Well, think of it this way, Tanya. Nobody wanted to pay that for him before we signed him, right? He hasn't exactly excelled or gone up in value since he's come to us. He's gotten a year older and he's got even less minutes in his legs. So I don't see realistically how there's any way we can say that his value is trebled since he's come to Liverpool. There's no justification of it. Again, just my opinion, but he's got a year older, done nothing, and had less football. So it just feels like a weird one. Yeah, can't get it through. But David Massett said, frustrating not seeing Chiesa getting more game time. And thank you for David for that one. It's really frustrating. Because, again, as a fan, it winds me up hearing about the wage bill being high and how every penny has to count. And then there you go, bang, we've wasted a load of dough. Stevie Boy said, can anybody make any sense of the Chiesa transfer? Who approved this and why buy a player, not use them? Pay wages, very confusing. It is. It's really confusing. And I think we can only assume it was Edwards or Hughes. Because obviously John W. Henry ain't sitting there monitoring and tracking, or Tom Werner, Fede, Chiesa. So it definitely bangs of Hughes or Edwards. But what I also wonder, Stevie Boy, when we talk about this situation is, let's say, for instance, it was a Hughes or Edwards signing and some Darna didn't want. Is that going to cause some early friction between the manager and the recruitment team? Because to be fair to Arna, he's always been very complimentary of particularly Richard Hughes and the work that they've done together. So there's a load of those questions, mate, that are confusing for me. But the best answer I can come up with is it has to have been a decision that was not made by Arna. Because if it was made by Arna, it makes it even more confusing as to why he's not getting a look in. Craig, heard mixed things. Who's in charge of incoming players and outgoing players, if it's different? So, incoming players, you would imagine that there's a whole lot of people involved. You've got the recruitment team, you've got Will Spearman and the data-led side of it, you've got the chief scout, Barry Hunter, although I can't remember, Hunter or Fallows, one of them was leaving or has left, I can't remember, so apologies on that. Then you've got the manager, obviously, as well, and I would say it's a committee process. Who has the final word? Well, you'd like to think the manager at least has a veto on a player that maybe he doesn't want. But like anything, as time goes on and if Arna continues to be successful, his words probably hold more weight in those conversations. And with regards to outgoing players, again, I don't think it's a one person answer, because it could be a contractual situation that's forcing the club into an issue that maybe the manager wouldn't ideally like. So do I think Arne Slot wants to sell Canade? Nope. But if the contract situation is what it is, it may have to be done if Liverpool can't find a breakthrough. So again, I think it's a mixture of everything. But wouldn't it be nice to get a bit more communication on these things? Craig, I think it was a no-loss signing. They can make the £12 million back, so it was a win-win. I've already explained why that makes no sense. So let's say, as you say, it's a 12 million quid signing and it's a win-win. Well, it's not a 12 million quid signing. It's a 12 million quid signing plus agents' fees, plus VAT, plus tax. On top of that, you've got 7 million quid that he's cost us in wages for the year. So he now becomes a 20 to 25 million pound debt that we have. Or at least he's cost Liverpool that much. So now you've got to get that back for him. And then, of course, there will be more agents' fees on that deal. There will be taxes and stuff on that as well. So I don't think it's a case of Liverpool flipping them and making a profit. I think this is a case of we've absolutely wasted another year's worth of 7 million quid and 12 million quid that could have been put to far better use. Again, this isn't a I don't like Chiesa situation, because I do. It's doesn't make any sense when you put the numbers together. I think the owner's initial plan was to play Moneyball with Chiesa, said Joshua. Well, it's failed miserably if that's the case, because, Arna hasn't given them the game time to add any value. If anything, we've probably made it more difficult for him, because then he'd have to work his way back to match fitness all over again. He's another year older. This whole situation is one that I just can't figure out. I can't figure out what on earth has happened.